Hello, everybody. I will make this as brief as possible. I am Antonia, and I will be running the presentation from Minerva Schools at KGI. So a little bit about me, first of all, is I am the Regional Outreach Advisor for Minerva for Western Europe specifically, but I'm also an alum of Minerva. So I went there from 2016 to 2020. So if you have any questions about, student experience or anything like that, I'd be happy to answer them. But today we are going to talk about not the undergraduate program, which is famous in itself because you live in 7 different cities while you're studying for 4 years. So you kind of travel the world while you're studying. We also have an MDA, which is a Master's in Decision Analysis, if you're interested in postgrad. But today we'll be focusing on our short-term programs, which is our visiting scholars year. So next slide, please. So yes, Minerva in itself is a very new and innovative university experience. Like I said, the undergraduate program is one where you study in 7 different cities all across the globe. And the whole point is to make you become a global leader and an innovator and a global thinker. So how we do that, next slide, please. Yeah, so how we do that is we teach you critical thinking skills and creative mindset skills. Basically, we want you to think outside the box, to be able to understand a problem and look at it in multiple different ways, to tackle, these different problems in creative ways that you can kind of take something and basically just think outside the box. We call it critical thinking and creative thinking skills. And basically the reasons why we do that is because 80% of jobs the students are going to face in the future don't even exist yet. The world is constantly changing from digital technology to new biomedical sciences. When you start university, by the time you finish it, there'll be a huge new career field. And we believe that being able to think critically, to communicate, to solve complex problems is a way that is approachable and a way that you can kind of use these skills in whatever different field that comes through. So that's kind of why we do what we do. Next slide, please. Yeah, so like I said, we believe that these kind of skills, critical thinking skills and practical knowledge is what the new leaders, the next generation of leaders and thinkers and business people need in order to kind of solve the new problems that we're facing, such as, climate change, using digital currencies, things like that. So again, that's kind of the why behind everything that we do. Next slide. So what are these skills? More specifically, I've talked a lot about creative thinking and critical thinking, but at the same time, we want to figure out what these are specifically. So critical thinking is more about seeing claims, being able to evaluate where this kind of source material has come from, being able to think outside the box, make a decision, understanding all the different components that go into a decision and being able to approach it in a very strategic way. Creative thinking is kind of the opposite of that, being able to approach something in a non-linear way, understanding there's multiple components and trying to pick the component that's the least predictable, but also reasonable. So for example, when you study a problem, you are thinking of different biases that go into it. You're thinking of different sources and how credible those sources are. You're understanding the concept, but you're trying to figure out like root causes rather than just like surface level causes. Effective communication is, written, spoken, nonverbal, multimedia, understanding that using these different mediums and using different audiences, your communication style is going to change. Being able to be effective at interacting. So for example, both having leadership skills, but also having teamwork skills, understanding how to negotiate and how to do that effectively. So these personal and interpersonal abilities are basically what we want you to be able to leave Minerva with. And next slide, please. Basically, how we teach this in our undergraduate program, within your first year, you study all these different core competencies and you study those 4 things that I was mentioned about in 4 specific classes. For the short-term program, basically it's called a visiting scholars year and you study the same kind of thing. So these are the 4 classes here. We have formal analysis, empirical analysis, multimodal, and complex systems. And these are the 4 different overall broad concepts that I've talked about with critical thinking, creative thinking, effective communication and interaction. So within these 4 different classes, you'll basically go through different case studies, you'll understand these different skills by kind of reading beforehand and having different discussions within class and a seminar-based discussion. So the whole point of this is basically to have that 1-year program and be able to develop a toolkit of different skills that you can then leave and go to either a different university, or you can use this as a standalone diploma sort of thing, and be able to use it as a badge like we were talking about before in the seminar today. Next slide, please. So yes, the way that we teach this again, it's a 1-year program. We use a innovative platform called the Active Learning Forum. Basically, what we do is it's an app that's downloaded onto your computer, and you take all your classes there. So there's no Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Google Hangouts or all these different ways that people have been teaching beforehand. We've developed a specific technology for learning and for teaching. We've done that about 6 years ago, so it was pre-pandemic, but it is all remote and it is all based online. So you can take classes from anywhere in the world that you have a stable Wi-Fi connection. Basically, we use active learning, which means you are studying beforehand, and then within the classroom-based setting, you'll be answering questions. It'll be very discussion-based rather than lectures. There's no lectures, there's no exams. It's all engaging and it's all built upon this active engagement, basically. And then the structured courses, as we talked about before, where we have these 4 set courses that are built upon set skills that we want you to have. Next slide, please. So yes, I've rushed through this because it's a lot to cover and I don't have a lot of time, but if this sounds like something you're interested in, then I would like to introduce you to our Visiting Scholars Year. So like I said, it's 2 semesters, which is about 1 full year, that we will teach you all these different skills within the 1 year. And then at the end, you're able to earn the Cornerstone Curriculum Certificate, which is a certificate that you can use to either transfer credits onto a different university. You can transfer on to Minerva afterwards if you do well and are interested in that, or you can use it just as a standalone certificate. Again, you can study from anywhere in the world. If you're interested, the deadline to apply is June 1st, so it's coming up quickly. I will put my details in the chat afterwards if anybody wants to follow up with me. And the cost is about 15,000 for the entire year as well. Unfortunately, we don't offer financial aid from our institution at the moment for this particular program. However, we do accept financial aid if you're able to get it from an external source. Next slide, please. So yes, I've kind of covered this already, but just as an overview, you'll be taking the full 4 courses for the entire year, the 4 courses that I mentioned. It is taught again through our Active Learning Forum, which is our computer-based remote technology, basically. It's kind of like an online seminar, so you can see everybody, you're always talking, and it's engaging and it's built upon that active engagement. Again, the whole point is to learn critically, to learn creatively, and be able to interact and communicate effectively. You'll be able to meet people from all across the world because, again, this is a remote program. So there's usually classes about 19 to 20 people, and they're usually from all different countries, and your professors are from all different countries as well. They are absolute experts in their field. I can say that with pure clarity as someone who was taught by them themselves. And you'll also have access to coaching and talent development. So for professional development, courses on being able to interview well, to build up your CV, things like that. Next slide, please. Yes, so if this is something you're interested in, you can apply on our website, which I will put in the chat. It's just minerva.kdi.edu. And basically the application is there. You have until June 1st to do it. It's a free application, and there's a 3-part of the application where we take into account lots of different things. It's not just based on your grades, and there's no quotas, there's no enrollment cap, and no standardized tests required. So although we are a US institution, we don't require the SATs. So wherever you are watching in the world, I'm assuming Spain, but we accept standardized tests from all over. You don't necessarily have to do the SATs if you're interested in this program. Next slide, please. Yes, so like I said, if this sounds like something you're interested in, if you want to build up your CV, if you want to be able to think critically and creatively and gain those skills and that kind of toolbox and creative mindset that we've been talking about, and learn how to interact and communicate well, then this could be something that is interesting for you. And if this sounds like you, we encourage you to apply. The deadline is June 1st, like I said, and that should be the end of my presentation.